Hey everybody, Adam the Movie Guy here, and kicking off celebrating Black History Month with this episode, I'm going to be talking about the 1972 film BLACULA and its 1973 sequel, Scream, BLACULA, Scream. I'm going to give my thoughts on the films with spoilers and a ranking. I'm not going to do a deep dive, just talk about things that stood out to me, what I liked and disliked. So let's get started with the OG BLACULA.
I curse you with my name. You shall be BLACULA.
BLACULA, the Black Avenger, rising from his tomb to fill the night with horror. BLACULA, Dracula's soul brother, deadlier even than he.
You know, he is a strange dude.
You're the nut that ran in front of my cab. You're the only imbecile on this street. Boy.
BLACULA.
Look at man, you found, he's got to be around here somewhere. Now listen, you take your hands off of me. I don't know you.
He thirsts for your blood. He hungers for your soul. Warm young bodies will feed his hunger. Hot, fresh blood will quench his awful thirst.
Make it a Bloody Mary. Are you, into the occult?
No!
How about the, heavy stuff?
What do you think of vampires?
Vampires? I think they're possibly the most fascinating of all.
More horrifying than Dracula. The Black Avenger, BLACULA, from American International Pictures.
I rewatched both BLACULA films, so I have the most fresh experience with both of them, and I want to say for the most part they did not disappoint. William Marshall as the African Prince Mamuwalde is absolutely phenomenal as the vampire BLACULA. He's very tall, he's handsome, has a very distinct way of speaking that just screams royalty, and he can go from very charming to a fucking menace in a second. He's a very sympathetic and tragic villain since the film opens up in the year 1780, and he's on a diplomatic mission with his wife Luva, who traveled all the way from Africa to Transylvania to seek out Count Dracula's support to help end the transatlantic slave trade, but Dracula, well, being Dracula, has no interest in doing so.
To totally cease the slave trade? I find that unrealistic. Slavery has merit, I believe.
Merit? You find merit in barbarity?
Barbarous from the standpoint of the slave, perhaps.
I mean, go figure, it's fucking Dracula. Which blows since Mamuwalde really wanted his support since Dracula has so much political influence and contacts in his part of Europe that really would have helped. Then just to cement this version of Dracula as a fucking prick, he starts inappropriately making a pass at Luva, Mamuwalde's wife, and he does so in such a fucking racist way that had me saying in my head, damn, Dracula is literally doing the old, I'm not racist, but act just in a fake gentleman way.
Intriguing and delightful for mine. I would willingly pay for so beautiful an addition to my household as your delicious wife.
Sir, are you ill?
Oh, I meant no insult, Prince. It is a compliment for a man of my station to look with desire on one of your color.
Sir, I suddenly find your cognac as distasteful as your manner. You're behaving like some animal.
Really?
Really?
Let us not forget, sir. It is you who comes from the jungle.
Our evening is finished. I pray you arouse your coachman. We are leaving.
I do not think so.
How dare you!
So Mamuwalde understandably gets pissed off and he's about to leave with his wife, but they get captured by Dracula's vampire slaves, and in the process, Mamuwalde gets bitten and cursed by Dracula, who rechristens him BLACULA.
You shall pay, Black Prince. I shall place a curse of suffering on you that will doom you to a living hell. A hunger, a wild, gnawing, animal hunger will grow in you. A hunger for human blood. Here you will starve for an eternity, torn by an unquenchable lust. I curse you with my name. You shall be BLACULA, a vampire, like myself, a living fiend. You will be doomed never to know that sweet blood which will become your only desire. You will watch, helpless and dying, until the black flesh rots from your bones. Listen for his cries. They will comfort you until your death.
So the poor guy gets sealed in a coffin while his wife starves to death in the room that they're sealed in. Fast forward to the then present year of 1972, and this gay couple who are interior decorators are in Castle Dracula, who's been long dead, slayed by Van Helsing sometime in the late 1800s, just like the OG Dracula novel. They're with a dealer and they discover the coffin containing Prince Mamuwalde, and they purchase it and ship it back to their home in Los Angeles, California. They unlock the coffin and the prince turned vampire ends up killing them both, which kicks off the main events of the plot. Now, this is where I was kind of getting OG Universal Mummy movie vibes a bit, because Blacula meets the character of Tina, who is the spitting image of his long-dead princess wife, Luva. Now, I am not sure if this was sheer coincidence, or they may have been some reincarnation business going on. Either way, I love their chemistry together in the film. She's drawn to Blacula almost immediately, and a lot of his sympathetic qualities come out around her. Throughout the film, while it's clear Blacula is still a villain because he starts killing and turning people into vampires, you never get the sense he's enjoying what he's doing and he's just compelled to do this because of his vampiric nature, bringing about this darkness in him. Like that interaction he had when that cab driver lady hit him with her car while he was pursuing Tina in the streets. I strongly got the vibe if she didn't mouth off and insult him, he wouldn't have lost his temper and bite her ass.
Imbecile!
Imbecile? Who the hell you calling an imbecile? You the nut that ran in front of my cab. You the only imbecile on this street. Boy. Look at man, you found, she's got to be around here somewhere. You know, I bet you she's worried right now and looking for you. So why don't you just back off of me and go get her? I bet she's worried to death about you. So I bet she's called every hospital around. Now listen, you take your hands off of me. I don't know you.
And I love the scene of the cab driver coming back as a vampire in the morgue and attacking the character Sam. The bulk of the movie is split between Blacula wooing Tina to be with him forever, and a police detective investigating these vampire murders and discovering the truth. This all ends in tragedy as Tina ends up dying after being turned into a vampire, and Blacula, no longer having anything to keep him going, willingly chooses to walk into the sun, and he's reduced to bones as the film ends. Now, the movie is heavily carried by Marshall's incredible performance as Mamuwalde, who, while standing at 6'5" with a deep-ass voice, is basically the black equivalent to Sir Christopher Lee, who stood at the same exact height and was also a classically trained actor who played my favorite version of Dracula in the Hammer horror film series. Marshall just absolutely killed it as the prince turned vampire, and you really do feel bad for the guy despite him being the villain of the movie. Marshall just has those tiny facial expressions that he can really wring out sympathy in one moment and intimidate the fuck out of you in the next. I also really love holy shit, I butchered this chick's name, Vonita McGee's performance as both Luva and Tina. Her chemistry with Marshall was really believable, and I was so genuinely sad when she died toward the end. The last performance that stood out to me, although very brief, was Charles McCulley as Dracula. Though he is no Christopher Lee, Bela Lugosi, or Gary Oldman, he really made you hate this version of Dracula since he's just a bastard with no sympathetic qualities whatsoever. So Charles did his job very well. Although no disrespect to him, what I really would have loved was, since Christopher Lee was still playing Dracula for Hammer Studios at the time, how fucking amazing would it have been if, in a little bit of a crossover of sorts, he played Dracula for this movie, even if it was just for the opening scene. How fucking great would it have been to see both Marshall and Lee, these 6'5" classically trained actors, deep voice intimidating motherfuckers going back and forth with each other. Damn! Maybe in a different universe that happened. Overall, I really liked the film. Marshall was amazing as Blacula. It has a nice touch of that 1970s silliness to it without going overboard. And like I said earlier, it's similar to the OG Universal Mummy movie without being boring as fuck. Sorry guys, I know it's a classic movie and deserves respect, but fuck me, aside from Boris Karloff and Zita Johann, holy shit, I cannot pronounce these people's names, Zita Johann as Helen, that movie is more boring than watching paint fucking dry. Sorry, I had to be honest. Now, as for my ranking, I'm doing the 0 to 10 star system. In place of stars, I will do coffins, and I give the 1972 Blacula 7.5 coffins out of 10. I think it's very entertaining, and while not perfect, it's a fun watch that is a classic 1970s film for a reason. Now, up next is the 1973 sequel called Scream, Blacula Scream.
Now he's back. The Black Prince of Darkness, Blacula, recalled by the awesome powers of voodoo to stalk the earth in a new quest for blood. Now he is back.
The name is Blacula!
Scream, Blacula, Scream.
Now, I'm not going to go nearly in depth with Scream, Blacula Scream, not because I didn't enjoy it, I actually did. However, I prefer the story of the first one compared to this one. This time around, Prince Mamuwalde is resurrected through voodoo by a pissed off guy named Willis, who is being passed over for the leadership of his voodoo cult in favor of his adopted sister named Lisa, played by blaxploitation queen Pam Grier, after their mother dies. So he gets pissed off and resurrects Blacula to use as a tool for revenge, but he immediately gets bitten and turned into a vampire, and Blacula makes it clear he's running shit and he's nothing but a servant to him. That dipshit really thought he was going to control Blacula. Fucking idiot. But the bulk of the film is Blacula interacting with Lisa and finding out how powerful she is in voodoo, and he seeks her help to lift his vampiric curse to live as a normal man again. All the while, he's biting and turning people to help serve and aid him. They also kind of repeat the detective plot from the first film, with cops discovering the vampiric threat of the situation, and the reason behind the murders springing up all around town, which I wish that they didn't, since I was getting too much deja vu with that shit. Now, Blacula in this film, on one hand, feels more angrier and bitter. On the other hand, you're still very sympathetic to his situation and his interactions with Pam Grier. You could really feel he's suffering from this vampiric curse that was forced on him by Dracula. Now on to some negatives. While I love the main house and Louisiana setting of the film, I feel that too much time is spent at that house, and it kind of comes across for the filmmakers saying, well, we got a limited budget here, so let's use the fuck out of this house. which is understandable, but I wish we just got a bit more scenery aside from indoor locations. I mean, you're set in Louisiana, show us some of the swamps or something. Another negative is some scenes drag on a bit too long and could have used some trimming, since the pacing of the film overall doesn't feel as good as the first film. Another negative is that damn repeated subplot of the police investigation I mentioned earlier. I understand why they brought the cops into the film, but I feel they could have at least jazzed it up a bit instead of retreading the same exact ground as the last film with that subplot. Now on to some positives. Unlike the first Blacula, this film is drenched in gothic, moody atmosphere, which really shines in the house scenes. William Marshall and Pam Grier steal the show with their performances, and I wish Marshall got one more sequel to make a complete trilogy to end the series for good, since I feel he could have at least done one more to bring everything full circle. Overall, the film, as it stands for me, is 6 out of 10. While still very solid and enjoyable, it is unfortunately a step down from the first film with the exception of its gothic atmosphere and lighting. If the first film had the gothic spooky vibe this one did, it would easily be an 8.5 out of 10 coffins. One last thing I want to say before ending the show is I truly believe that Blacula is a film that could easily be remade today. And you know what? I want Michael B. Jordan to play the role. I think he's a fantastic actor, and he's already been a vampire before with Sinners, so you know he can nail it. And he can make you feel so sympathetic to his character at the drop of a hat, while at the same time being fucking menacing. Think about it, Hollywood. Somebody get on this right the fuck now before he gets like 50 other projects to do and he never has to the time. Well, guys, this is the end of the show. I hope you all enjoyed it. This has been Adam the Movie Guy, and I'll see you next episode.